for coming here this evening. Oh no, I don't need that. I don't need a microphone, do I? No. Grand job. Folks, by way of introduction, my name is Glenn Fitzpatrick. I'm the independent chairperson of the Electoral Commission, also the Chief Returning Officer for the elections. So I'll be overseeing the count and all that jazz next week. I also joined here this evening by the rest of EC. We've got Samantha, Jamie, Constantine, all members of EC as well. So we basically try to make sure that everything goes by smoothly. And not here this evening to say too much, only to introduce, we have a moderator here this evening who's a former president of the USI. She's an absolutely Trojan champion of student rights, young people in general, and we're very fortunate to have her. So I'm just going to pass over to Sheena Cahill, and she's going to be our referee for the evening, and best of luck to everybody.
Can everybody hear me at the back of the room? Yes? Very fair play. Okay, welcome everybody to the TU Dublin Leadership Debate for 2023. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. We're, for the people who are coming in live on some sort of platform, I think it might be YouTube, is it? God knows. Deadly. Any platforms available, or via your own live feeds. Welcome to the Generator in Dublin for this hustings. It's important to know that there is a live stream happening, and some people here might be publicising on their own social media channels, so just bear that in mind for the background noise and various conversations in the next hour or so. I suppose a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously the bathrooms are not in here, so please leave if you need to use the bathroom outside the door, and that's the same thing as the emergency exit. You will find the toilets after you've gone through what might be a 3-minute maze left and right, so best of luck on that journey. But you know where to go. And also if there is an emergency, please leave out that. I don't think either of these are working. Okay. Glenn just introduced me. It's important to know who I am and why I'm here. Particularly if you haven't been to a hustings before or to an elections debate before. My name is Sheena Cahill, and as Glenn said, I'm the former USI president. I was president in 2018, 2019, and previous to that I was the deputy president and equality and citizenship officer for the Union of Students in Ireland, and previous to that I was the 2-term vice president for equality and citizenship, equality and welfare with Maynooth Students' Union. And I suppose all of that is to say that I very much appreciate not just the work of a students' union and the work of the staff of a students' union and how that unit operates to get things done, but also that I have been here, not in this room, but in this very situation as a candidate multiple times, going forward to pitch my ideas, talk genuinely about things that I wanted to do for the students' union. And in that case, I know how hard it is to put yourself forward, regardless of the kind of position, part-time, full-time or otherwise, regardless of what campus, regardless of the time of year and what kind of exams and everything else around studies that you have on your plate. It's a huge task, and we should, in respect of that, respect every candidate that stands up to run for election, regardless of whether they have views that align with our own. And I would expect that that is reflected in tonight's debate, not just from the candidates, but from people here tonight and from people online. It's really important that TU Dublin and every students' union is a space that people feel like they can run for and be part of the great thing that is democracy and people rowing it out over really good ideas. And perhaps not so good ideas sometimes, but let's see how that goes. As a moderator, my job is to make sure that this space that we have this evening is moderated, that there is a fair amount of time given to every candidate, that every candidate has an opportunity to answer fair questions and all of that. And it might sound a bit picky, but the point is that we need to make sure that everyone feels like they've been treated correctly, that everyone listening in feels that the person up here has been treated correctly and fairly in front of everyone here. Is that all right? Deadly. And why we're here, if you didn't know already, is to hear from some brilliant candidates across 8 roles. I think there's 11 candidates. We're here to learn about their policies, we're here to learn about their vision, and lots of us are here to support our favourite candidate, our best friend, our boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. That's amazing, but what we're not here to do is make a mockery of each other or of the space or of the students' union. That's really important. So if I see that happening, I will call order. And when I call order, I expect you to stop whatever line you're on. Indeed, if I feel like the debate is being interrupted by people here in the room, I will also call order and ask you to either stop or leave, okay? And it's just the fairest way to go about it. I'd like to welcome my timekeeper, Constantine, to my right. Amazing, excellent, sexiest in the room. Constantine basically will keep an eye on the time, make sure that I'm knocking at the right times correctly and all of that, and make sure that everything's fair. So what I'm going to do now is just going to run through the standing orders, okay? And what that means is like the rules of how this goes. So I'm just going to read them out one by one, and it's boring but very necessary. Candidates for each position will be asked to speak in alphabetical order. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to address the students. In the case of presidential candidates, that time will be 5 minutes to address the students. I will either say 60 seconds or I'm most likely going to knock fairly loud once at 2 minutes. So for the candidates who are not running for president, they've got 3 minutes. So at 2 minutes, I'm going to give a knock, and that gives you the heads up. You've got 1 minute left, right? That's just important because I literally always go over time, so it's important to get that heads up. As I said for the presidential candidates, it's 5 minutes, so the same thing applies. At 4 minutes, I will give a knock, and it just gives you 1 minute to finish up, all right? When you're out of time, so at the end of your 3 minutes for non-presidential, at the end of 5 minutes for presidential, I will do 2 knocks. That means you get to finish your sentence. Not your thought, not your opinion, not your giant policy piece, your sentence. And if you keep going, I will continue to knock, or I will stand up and talk over you. It's going to be dramatic, don't do that. Don't make me. That wouldn't be good. In terms of the questions, I'm going to go over how we're going to do that now. Questions can be addressed to the position being contested or to individual candidates, but it is up to me as moderator to make the final decision on what questions get asked, and also we may run out of time. I'll be fair and balanced in the case of contested races, of course, but across all races you are contested by Ron, so consider yourself on notice. My decision is final on that, so I'll be taking no questions as the referee. We won't be going to Hawkeye. And as a moderator, I'll make sure that the questions that are asked are appropriate to the position and to the person, and that all candidates have the opportunity to answer the question if it can be reasonably be expected of them. Okay? Further questions and answers. So what we've done is that the team can everybody see the little white sheets in front of you? Deadly. So what I'm going to ask you to do is that if you would like to ask a question, and you're more than welcome to, please write clearly, in caps if you can. At the very top or on one side of the sheet, write down for what position it is for, and on the back of the sheet, write your question. Keep it short, don't add a load of commentary, don't add a load of opinion, try and avoid emojis because I won't be able to read them, and I will have a look at them. Basically what we're going to do is, we can also do online questions as well, just to ensure that people who are coming in, this is like massive campuses. So if you would like to submit online, you can email me, which is my first name, my surname @gmail.com. So that's Shiana, S for sunshine, Iona.cahill, CAHILL @gmail.com. Obviously the difference with an email is that I will get your name. I will not be reading out your name. It will be anonymous, and I will delete them afterwards. I will not let anybody know who asked what question. If you wish to do that, you can. Basically, you can submit the questions up until the point where I say the questions. I'm moving now to Q&A for this candidate. Jamie, my partner in crime, will stand up. Deadly, just so everybody knows who it is.
I guess I'm Jamie now, but yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Does this mean I'm James?
He will be there and grab any questions that you have, so please do give it to him, and then I'll have a look at them and ask them. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer questions that I ask. In the non-presidential race, there'll be an overall 10-minute period of time that we're going to ask any questions. If the questions are done before 10 minutes, then let's roll on. For the presidential Q&A, there's 15 minutes allocated. Same thing. I'd expect a few more questions in the presidential race and over the 15 minutes. But again, if there's no questions forthcoming, I will not go to the floor. I will only be accepting questions that have been submitted on time via the process outlined. Is that clear with everybody? Yeah. Deadly. Okay, so last but not least, I've gone through this already. I've spoken to most of the candidates this evening, but if I haven't, this is your warning. You know, no personal attacks. You know, the reason, again, why we're here tonight is for a respectful conversation. It's to inform people in and out of the room what you stand for, what your policies are, what you hope to do if you were to be elected in the Students' Union. Obviously, both for here and online, I would avoid any kind of profanity, unruly behaviour, and that's from the candidates and from you guys. Like, again, it's being live streamed, but even if it wasn't, you know, I would expect that people absolutely clap for every candidate. Obviously, there are going to be teams here who are extra excited for some candidates, more than welcome. But I'm not taking any booing or hissing happening. It's just, that's just not the vibe I'm after this evening, and it's not the vibe you should be after either in your Students' Union or out of it in the race. I want a clean and fair game, basically. I'm sounding a bit like Madam Pomfrey. Right, I'm going to do a running order, and I'm going to do a roll call. So just say on shut if you're here. For postgraduate officer Jessica Perez. On shut, deadly. Blanchardstown Campus Vice President Jeremy Lawler. Deadly. Tala Campus Vice President Sharan Bahadir.
I cannot pronounce that word.
Excellent, take it. Vice President for Communications and Media Louise Kavanagh. Lovely. Vice President for Events and Engagement Ian Kelly. Vice President for Academic Affairs Shauna O'Toole. Vice President for Welfare and Equality Hazel Doran.
Here.
I've got Nikesha Keesa Nancy. Lovely. And Sophie Warren is in absentia. So in Sophie's absence, Roberta Leahy.
On shot.
So Roberto will be giving only a 3-minute contribution in Sophie's absence. Roberto nor Sophie will have an opportunity to contribute to the Q&A section of the evening, out of fairness. And for President, Saoirse Daly.
On shot.
And Brian Jordan.
On shot.
Lovely. Okay, is everybody clear? Looks pretty good to me. All right. Okay, well with that, guys, we're going to kick off. I'm going to sit over here and I'll call the first person up. Can I have Jessica Perez for the position of postgraduate officer? You've got 3 minutes.
Alright, hi everybody, my name is Jess and I am running for postgraduate officer because I've loved my job this past year, or at least I've loved parts of it. The part that I've struggled with the most actually has been the fact that as a part-time officer, I have €0 in my budget, which is the case for all part-time officers. Because with the SU, what we do is part of what, whenever we want to do events, regardless of what it is, it's the full-time officers' budget that we use, which is amazing. Last semester, Ian actually helped me use the events and engagement budget. I was able to do a lot of great events, which was amazing. And I actually promised all the postgrads that we would keep doing them. But in January, we actually found out that Ian's budget is running low, so that meant all the postgrad events that I had planned are no longer happening. Whenever I asked the SU for money, I was told, you don't have a budget, go find it somewhere else. This is disheartening, and actually last night, whenever I was hearing all the part-time officers speak about all the events they wanted to do, I was like, that sounds so great, but you guys are about to start struggling as much as I am. But I didn't let that put me down. You know, I actually went this whole semester, even though I was sad I couldn't do events, I started figuring out where can I find this money. But not only where can I find this money, but where can I guarantee that every other postgrad officer that follows me will have it? And I found it. So I am part of now I'm part of the Research and Innovation Academy, a position that I got not as a postgrad officer, but as a postgrad researcher. But I've used that position to make sure that as postgrad officer and as SU, we can see money from R&I. Because the thing about universities is that they have money, and they care, and they want to put their money in a good place. So I'm actually talking to R&I and saying, this is where your money's going to go. So I was actually able, in a week, to organize a day for Women in Research for International Women's Day. Because I found out on Monday that I had the money, and that the event was the next Wednesday. So we made it work. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because I was in the hospital. But I heard it went amazing. But not only have I guaranteed now a Women in Research for every single year for International Women's Day, but I've also guaranteed a Men in Research for International Women's Day. Thank you. And that's what I'm going to be continuing doing as a postgrad officer, to be able to do things like this for all future postgrad officers to have money. Because today I also found out that I now have money for Postgraduate Week, which is something that I promised whenever I was running. So if you vote for me, actually you can't vote for me, But whenever I am part of the SU, I will be there for all part-time officers because I understand the struggles that it is to be a part-time officer. So I'm going to be helping you guys, and I'm going to be helping the full-time officers to make sure that the support is there for us, because it is disheartening whenever you have to go and tell a postgrad, hey, the event that I promised you is no longer happening. But thank you. Vote for me.
Thank you, Jessica. Can I just ask if there are any questions to be submitted to the front of the room, please? I'll give you a minute. Okay, Jessica, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Students' union election campaigns often focus on undergrad students. How will you help postgrad students, and what postgraduate issues do you think are most important? You've got 1 minute to answer.
Most definitely. There are 3 things I'm actually going to be focusing on this year, which is engagement, to create a community, mental health, to be able to actually be able to show postgrads that it's okay to not be okay, because as postgrads we suffer through a lot of mental health. I'm an example right here. I've actually had 2 episodes this past year where I landed myself in a hospital for a week because of the amount of stress and anxiety that I had experienced. And the third of which is actually being able to give a voice to postgrads, to be able to make them be part of the class rep system so that they can have a voice and they can join me, because sometimes I feel like I'm doing this alone, but postgrads care too. And I want to make sure that postgrads get involved in the SU so that we can all have a voice. Thank you.
We haven't received any more questions, so I give a final question to Jessica before summation. You'll have 1 minute to answer, which is, what is your fondest memory of being a TU Dublin student?
Oh man, I think even though it is related to postgrad officer thing, it's the hikes that I've been able to do this past year, because I'm a postgrad too, so whatever events I do, they're also for me. So I've been able to meet a lot of postgrads this past semester, postgrads that I see in the office, postgrads that I don't see, postgrads from DCU, and I've actually been able to engage with a lot of people. And then because of that, I've actually been able to be more open about my mental health, because now I'm seeing that I'm not the only one struggling. There's other postgrads that are too, and that's helped me a lot. Oh, I'm getting emotional. Because at the end of the day, we all struggle, and I'm able to help other postgrads learn, but I'm also able to help myself. Thank you.
Finally, Jessica, you've got 1 minute for summation.
Yep. So I'm not just running on my own, I'm actually campaigning with 4 other people. We call ourselves a dream team because we have a dream. I know that's really corny, but we have a dream to be able to make the student experience a lot better. But we're also a team. 4 of us have been working together for the past year, and we actually have been talking about for the past year how we can make the SU better. And as we've been running together, I've been talking to them and saying, okay, postgrads need this, postgrads need that. How can you help me as a full-time officer make sure that postgrads are there? But Dream Team is not exclusive. Anybody can be part of the Dream Team. Anybody who has a dream and wants to be able to work together with people who have that same goal can be part of it. So next week, don't only vote for the 5 of us who are part of the Dream Team, but also join us in the Dream Team so that we can be able to make some change next year that is so desperately needed in the SU. Thank you.
Get off stage. We've got, thank you very much, Jessica. Next up, for the position of Blanchardstown Campus Vice President, I'd like to welcome Jeremy Lawler. Oh yeah, I'm going to take my gavel, which I forgot. Very smooth. Jeremy, you've got 3 minutes.
Hi everyone, Jeremy, we heard. So I've been studying community and youth development over the past 4 years in Blanchardstown, and that's kind of fueled my interest in equality and inclusivity and anti-racism, which are values that I want to, bring out in my work as vice president, if elected. As a transgender man with disabilities, I have a unique opportunity to represent communities that are often unheard and not really in a space where we're able to get our contributions made. So I want to do my best to represent my communities by being a proactive and inclusive vice president. My main goals would include like accessibility, events and engagement, and facilities. I think, you know, I will oversee the improvement of the sensory room. As a neurodivergent person myself, I understand the necessity of these rooms and what is necessary for neurodiverse people like needing. I'll also create more events based in Blanchardstown, creating more alcohol-free events and also events earlier in the day to accommodate more people, as some people don't drink and some people live further away. And also Blanchardstown can be quite hard to get to. So yeah, I'm not a politician, I'm just a person who cares about the college, the university, and the people, really.
1 minute.
Yep. While studying here, I fell in love with my course and I've met some incredible people, some of which are here today. And I want to do right by my fellow students and want to be the representation that Blanchardstown campus needs. We're not just a university, we're a community, and I will do all I can to ensure everyone feels empowered and respected. Thank you all for listening. Blanche on top.
Jeremy, you may stay where you are there now, don't be rushing off.
Sorry, it might be useful to see, you turn the microphone on.
I was just going to ask back how we are with the microphone, alright. Do you want to give it a test, Jeremy?
Okay. Blanche on top.
Okay, can we hear that? IT, crowd down the back. Deadly. Awesome.
Sorry.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you very much for that opening piece. I'm just going to give 30 seconds to see if there are any questions submitted for the role of Blanchardstown Campus Vice President. Okay, I've got 2 questions, Jeremy. I'll ask one at a time. Okay, and you'll have 1 minute to answer. The first is, Jeremy, how can we make TU Blanchardstown more accessible? You've got 1 minute.
Well, there is often issues with lifts, so by lobbying, we can ensure that lifts are better maintained and more accessible for people with mobility issues. Also, accessibility can run under the shuttle bus. We often have issues with the shuttle bus, so ensuring that the timetable is fixed with that as well.
Excellent. Perfect. Thank you very much. The second question, Jeremy, how do we increase engagement, student engagement in Blanche?
This can be done through social media, engaging with people in classrooms, engaging with people in canteens, and the SU up the stairs. I think Blanche is quite engaging. Everyone is quite an engaging group, and I think by reaching out more, we can reach more people. And yeah, I'm always going to be around to talk and listen to others.
Okay. Thank you very much. A third question. What is the biggest issue facing students in Blanchardstown campus? You've got 1 minute.
I think that's a big question because I feel like that, you know, overall I think a lot of people would say that Blanchardstown is quite further out than you know, the city campus and stuff like that. So it would be more so to do with events that are on our campus, and also just being able to get there is a problem. Obviously the shuttle bus has been a big issue and people have struggled to get to college on time and just in general. So just accessibility wise, that is the biggest problem with Blanchardstown.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Final question before we go to summation. What's been your fondest memory of being a TU Dublin student? You've got 1 minute.
Honestly, it's quite a hard question because I've really enjoyed my experience overall. Of course, with COVID, it was quite hard to like be there, but I think coming back after COVID and seeing everyone in my class and being able to like be together as a group again was really refreshing and really nice, because we all got to like see each other again after about 2 years, and yeah, I really treasure the people that I studied with.
Thank you, Jeremy. Now you've got 1 minute for your summation.
Okay, well, I'm just here for this first time, and you know, I don't really know what to say. All I can say is that I want to do my best to represent everyone from this college, and I love this college, and I want to do all I can for everyone who it does. And yeah, I'm on top, I guess.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Jeremy was the only candidate in that batch. We've got next, I'd like to welcome for Tala Campus Vice President Sharan Bahadir. Sharan, you know the story by now. You've got 3 minutes to kick off. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sharon, and I'm running for Tala VP, and you guys probably know me as a worm girl by now. And I could spend 10 minutes talking about my, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous, I'm severely dyslexic. I could spend 10 minutes talking about my achievements so far, but I want to talk about my goals for next year instead, because they're more important in my opinion. So my biggest manifesto point this year was to make Tala campus as inclusive as possible, as we have many minorities on campus, such as cultural differences, LGBTQ, and I don't feel like they're represented enough on the campus. And one of my biggest manifesto points was to get a sensory room, which our president Brian Jordan just got the funding for, so whether you vote for me or not, we're gonna get it. Hooray! Another thing I want to get for Tala campus is a bigger prayer room, because it's so small and it's not accommodating to people's needs. So for example, Muslims cannot pray in the same room as the opposite gender, and the room is tiny, so there is no space for them to be separated. With that also, it's very far away from the bathrooms, and they have to use it before and after they pray. And I'm sure a lot of people didn't even know about this, but it is a huge problem right now. Amongst with that, I want to get more equipment for our labs, because a lot of computers don't even work, and I feel like we have 3 microscopes in my microbiology labs. With that, I want to talk to you about something big I really want to work on, and I know it is going to sound unreal, but trust me, I want to get on-campus accommodation for Tala, and I know I cannot get that done in 1 year, that is impossible. It'll take at least a decade, but at least I can work on it. I can try to get funding from the university, from the Ministry of Education, or as you can take a loan possibly, and we can at least give it a start, because a lot of Tala students come from Kildare, Town, a lot of other places, and I know a lot of people that have to travel over 2 hours a day. My time is running out, so I just want to finish it off by saying the last thing I want to do is fix our timetable issues, because Tala is known for being shit with timetables. I'm sorry for cussing, but it is so true that like I have a class at 9 till 10 and 4 till 5 on the same day with a 6-hour break, and I want to fix that. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Sharan. I'm now accepting final questions for this candidate. I'll give it 30 seconds. I've made you sweat. Sharan, a question for you. How do we make whole university events more accessible to Tala students? You've got 1 minute.
Well, we can base more events in Tala, in the Shack, in Molloy's, because city is, well, accessible to Tala students, but again, a lot of Tala students live closer to Kildare or in Tala itself. So we can put on more events on Tala campus itself and make more events in Molloy's or the Shack in Tala-based spaces.
Great, thank you very much. What would you consider the most important local issue for Tala students? And you've got 1 minute.
I would say a lot of people see Tala as a dangerous space, which it truly is. But I'm not even gonna lie, it is a dangerous place. But I feel like with more security and guarding us, we would be fine, we would be better. So I will be also working on that to get more security on campus, because we've been facing issues with that as well. Yeah,
thank you. You know, what is your experience to date and how would it lend itself to the role? You've got 1 minute.
Can you repeat that?
What is your experience to date and how would it lend itself to the role? You've got 1 minute.
Well, I'm currently a class rep and a student councillor, and I would say I've been pretty much involved with DSU since my first week in college. I've been involved with events, the national walkout, the rallies. I've been helping James out on campus as much as possible. And I was also in the council of my secondary school amongst the debate team. But I would say what prepared me for the role was I was involved with a project back in Cyprus, which is where I'm from. And this project was called the Imagine Project, which made Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots interact with each other and learn about each other's cultures. And we even won a Global Education Award back in May 2021. So I feel like I'm really experienced on speaking to people, solving problems, passing motions, all that stuff. So yeah.
Excellent, thank you so much. And your last question before I move to summation. Your best memory being a TU Dublin student. It might come as a shock that this question's being asked. Oh my God. Go ahead, you've got 1 minute.
I would say the best moment I had in TUD so far was the class rep training I attended, because I literally met all my friends in there and I didn't know there were this many people that also had the same passion as me to help others. We literally shared the same mindset and we all want to help each other, and knowing there were people like me who are so passionate about helping each other made me so happy.
Thank you very much. And 1 minute for your summation.
Well, I'm pretty much uncontested, but still you should vote for me because I'm amazing. I'm joking. I really want to make a difference in Tala because I see there are things that can be changed. So please vote for me. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sharon. And now I move on to the next position, which is for Vice President for Communications and Media. I'd like to invite Louise Kavanagh up. Thank you.
You should be happy to know you're the first candidate that won't look like the Incredible Hulk on the live stream.
Oh my gosh.
It's just such a green reflection on everyone's face.
Oh my gosh. Right, thanks, William. Louise, are you good to go? Good stuff. You've got 3 minutes, Louise.
Great, thanks, William. Can everyone hear me down the back? Yeah. Perfect. So I'm Louise Kavanagh, the current Deputy President of the Blanchardstown Campus and the Student Union. Hi! So I've been doing class addresses for the last few days, so bear with me while you feel like you're getting sold to. I suppose you essentially are. So I'm running for comms and media. My background is in creative digital media, so I'm a skilled and media student. And those 4 years, well actually I've been knocking about since 2015, so essentially the 7 years that I've been around and in education has really helped me grow myself as a person, and my digital skills have grown within that time. There's so much that I can provide to the role. I suppose, point of information, I was actually against the role when we first went to go about it at the very start of the process. I felt that there was a communication team that we could all do the jobs ourselves as officers throughout the year, and I surprised myself throughout the year when I realised that we are so busy within the student union that there really does need to be a person there at all times. So I changed my mind, and at the last minute decided, oh my god, this job was made for me when I see the job description. I'm a natural talker. There's 3 main points that I want to kind of talk about that I want to bring to the role. First one being community. The previous speaker literally hit the nail on the head when she talked about going to the class rep training, building that community, finding her tribe really. That's what I want to bring to TU Dublin Student Union. That is what we're going to, that is how we're going to be able to grow this place. By everyone merging together and coming together. It's not just Blanchardstown, it's not just Tala, it's not just City. Every single person has a skill set to bring to each other. We've all come to TU Dublin for a reason. TU Dublin is known to be a college where you can go and get skills and life skills. And I am just blown away by the friendships that have been made this year, and I know through the comms and media role that's only going to improve. So by including societies, letting people in Blanchardstown know that there's a Women in STEM Society in Tallinn, allowing them the opportunity to join these unions and join these societies. Bear with me, I'm getting nervous.
1 minute.
Thank you, it's going to help us grow. That leads me into communication. Communication is their job. I'm a natural speaker, as you can kind of tell. I'm a little bit nervous, so bear with me. I have a great relationship with the university, which is only going to support us and help us grow. In terms of lobbying the university, I've recently actually just been made aware that we are now in the process of sorting out the fee situation. We are lobbying to go, yeah, it's absolutely amazing. We'll have a meeting next month to be able to look at instalment fees and everything that we've been looking for the last couple of months. That is happening right now, and it's an amazing achievement. So lobbying the university really works. Lastly, transparency. We have an officer team every year. There's always new officers coming in, and some officers don't know what happened the year before or what will happen in the future years. So the student newspaper and the media outlet is going to really help us with that. We'll have a back trail, we've got a history, all of that's going to support us. So I'm really excited about the role. I know I'm uncontested, but that doesn't mean I don't want your vote. So please vote for me next Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. If anyone's at home, thank you very much.
I
know it's
no further comments from my partner here, please. Louise, I'm just going to give the audience 30 seconds to submit any further questions that they have for you, and I will wait for you. Also reminding people here, but mostly the people streaming, that they can email me if they'd like to ask a question to sheena.cahill@gmail.com. You shouldn't use that email for any other reason. And the door is always open. All right. Louise, I'm going to ask you the first question. You have 1 minute to answer. How can a student newspaper in TU Dublin improve the student experience? You've got 1 minute.
Without saying, the student newspaper, it's not just tomorrow's paper for the fish and chips. Like, it really is a place for us to engage with each other. I mentioned societies briefly, but I'm really actually glad to have an opportunity to talk more about this. There are so many societies and clubs around that people don't know about. The newspaper will be that one-stop shop. It's spread way too thin at the moment in how we communicate with students, and not every student wants to go on social media. Not every student wants a newspaper. Not every student wants a poster. So by having those different opportunities, it actually makes things more accessible. I never even got a chance to talk about it. The newspaper, it's in written form, you've got visuals there. It's going to help people who are within the disability sector be able to engage with us better. So a student newspaper is really important, actually, I think, now in the grander scheme of things.
Thank you, Louise. A second question. In your position, you'll have a lot of chances for collaboration.
Yeah.
What vice president positions would you like to work with, and how would you collaborate? You've got 1 minute.
Every single vice president position I need to work with. Like, my number 2 is going to be Ian. Like, you know, we have so many overlaps in terms of our roles and our job descriptions. The welfare and the academic affairs officer, and even the part-time officers are going to play a huge part, because we had the hustings last night and they have amazing ideas, but they need to be able to get those ideas out. So by having timely, consistent messages out to the students, and me being that person being able to communicate, it's going to help. In terms of collaborating within the university, I've already been having conversations with key people in the university who want to get their message out to students. It's actually probably going to be one of the best things that ever happens to TU Dublin Student Union, having this role, and it'd be an honour to be able to lay the foundations this next year.
Thank you, Louise. I'd ask you not to name any other candidates, just the positions.
Oh, apologies.
Thank you, and that's to apply to every other candidate coming up after this. Actually, your last answer leads into this. You'll be the first to hold this position. So if elected, can you speak to how you plan to define the role and establish it for the future? You've got 1 minute.
So obviously within the student union we are officers, but we have an amazing staff team behind us. So I'm going to make sure I utilise that by working with every single executive that's there, the people who are the experts, like the comms executive, the development manager, working with all the different teams. That's how we're going to be forming our standard operating procedures, how we're going to discuss things with each other, how we're going to communicate, really. That is an essential piece, and I know again it's a communications role, but communication is key. If we don't talk to each other and we don't support each other, especially with the staff, then why are we here? We're here for the students. We want to make sure that we get that point across. I'm not going to do it on my own. I'm not an expert. I have lots of skills, but I don't have everything. So I know that I'm going to use the strengths from everybody else that's around me to support me, and I'd be lost without them.
Thank you very much, Louise.
Yep.
Second last question. Obviously a communications role. What is your favourite social media platform, and how would you deal with trolls who are writing on the Students' Union page?
God, I'm going to
You've got
sound
1 minute.
Okay, sorry, I'm wasting time here. So I'm puffing like an old lady. So being an old lady down in my 30s, Facebook used to be the place to be, but not anymore. I'd even think Instagram's kind of starting to take a dip. But Instagram really is the tried and trusted. I have a little bit of a background in digital marketing, so essentially we'll have to have a look and see where the students are coming to us. Essentially, as I said, Instagram is the main place we communicate in. And in terms of trolls, I launched an Operation Transformation motion a couple of months ago, where I had to go up and tell everybody that we were against fat shaming, and guess what? I'm overweight. So there was some plenty of comments about my weight. We don't engage with trolls. These people are only looking for you to react so that they can push back harder on you. We don't react to them at all. We don't delete comments because it only makes it worse. At the end of the day, everyone's entitled to an opinion, but in terms of trolls, they'll be reported and blocked. We don't stand for it.
Thank you, Louise. I'd now ask you to go to 1 minute station, and we can hold for applause until the end. Thank you. Go ahead.
I mean, like I said, I never thought I'd stand up here and actually be really, really nervous, and I am, and I'm so sorry, guys. I would normally be a bit more professional than this, but I love the Student Union. I am obsessed with TU Dublin. I have been from the day I started in ITB. I'm a huge people person. I'm a huge advocate for the student movement. I have so many passions and so many skills in my background that I want to just be able to give that to the student body. I've been a student for, like I said, almost 7 years, and I think that I want to shape the future for the next round of students that come in. I want to be able to make TU Dublin a place that has no barriers to be. Everyone is entitled to an education, and by promoting how great the place is and how great we are, it's only going to attract more students to come to us. So please vote for me next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Louise for Content Media.
Louise, before I ask the next candidate up, I just ask that we wait until the end of kind of when a candidate has stopped speaking before we leave the room. The noise of that very big door in the background is making a bit of commotion, so if we just hold off on that, it'll also be a thing that unless there's a lull in the speeches, you'll have to wait outside to be let back in. It's just to make sure that it's as fair as possible on the candidates, that they don't get distracted during the speeches, all right? Thanks, guys. So, next candidate up for the position of Vice President for Events and Engagement. I thought someone was really excited. For the position of Vice President for Events and Engagement, I'd like to welcome Ian Kelly. Ian, are you good to go for your 3 minutes?
Yeah, ready.
Good stuff, go ahead.
I'd just like to thank Anna for having Liam Neeson on the wall, just staring at me here. Exactly, I do. My name is Ian Kelly, and I'm running for the role of Vice President for Events and Engagement. And I'm the current City Campus Events Officer. This year, although I was elected as the Events Officer for the City Campus, I wanted to make sure, no matter what campus you were on, that you had the same experience. So if I had a pet and zoo in Grange Gorman, there was a pet and zoo in Tala and Blanche. If you got Candy Floss in Angel Street, you also got it across all our major campuses. This year we ran the most successful freshers in the history of the college. We had 64 events over 3 weeks. Sorry, Mary. We ran Halloween, which saw us collaborate with IADT, something I'd like to do more with Dublin colleges in general. We ran the first ever TU Dublin Christmas Day. It was mental. And so far we've raised over €15,000 for our RAG charity, and we're hoping to get it a lot higher. Next year I want to build on the success we had this year and learn from the mistakes that we made and build a bigger and better experience for all of our students. I'd like to point out the most important word that I said here during this whole spiel, and that's the word we. There's only so much one of us can do alone. Like I did a lot alone this year. I don't keep doing it. We're so much stronger as a team and as a student movement as a whole. Only by supporting each other can we truly support students. So when you go to the polling booths next week, I want you to think, who will best represent you as a leader of the Students' Union, who will make the changes that you want to see, and whether you tick the box for Saoirse Daly or Brian Jordan, you will have made the best decision for you, and that's all really we can ask as officers in the Students' Union. Oh, and one more thing, like, if you see me on a box, like, just give us a take. Yeah, cheers, thanks very much. I probably should have said Saoirse Daly, Brian Jordan.
Thank you, Ian. Sorry, Ian, please.
Yeah,
order.
sorry,
I'd also ask you not to name other candidates holding
yeah.
positions. Thank you so much. No point apologising, please just don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give 30 seconds again to grab any questions that are coming in for Ian. So go ahead, and again, my email is open.
That when we worked together as a team, like, we had such a good time during that orientation. We got so many students involved and coming to our events and coming to all our social things like campaigns and stuff. And that's something we did great at this year as a team, and we can only build on next year.
Thank you. What event would you like to improve from this year, and how would you do it? 1 minute.
I felt like everything in the first semester went so well, but the second semester, not so much. I guess there was a big drop off in students, and I guess there was a lot of factors in that. I felt like we promoted stuff quite well. Maybe we had some kind of weeks and stuff that we were running that kind of maybe lagged behind a bit and stopped the promotion of other things. And I'd like to make sure that we focus on what our core events are each semester and make sure that we're properly pushing them. And then look, maybe in the second semester, the kind of feeling I got from students is they just don't have money to go to events. So we need to be looking at, in the second semester, especially more subsidised events, stuff that students can come to and socialise, whether it's on campus or nighttime events that they can go to on a budget and have a good time and meet people.
Last question. What's your fondest memory so far of being a TU Dublin student? 1 minute.
Graduating.
That's it?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Don't consider that that's it as a real comment for me. 1 minute for summation. Ian, go ahead.
You up the Student Union.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much, Ian. Now we're just going to let people back in for a second. Is there many people out there? Are we all good? Great. Okay, we're moving on to the next position. For Vice President for Academic Affairs, I'd like to welcome Shauna O'Toole. All right, Shauna, you good to go for your 3 minutes opening?
Yeah.
Excellent. Go ahead.
So, hi, my name is Shauna O'Toole, and I am a final year film and broadcasting student who is specialising in radio. Equity in education is all I stand for. I have volunteered in the Access Service from the time I've been popping around in 2018 in the Access Foundation programme. Equity in education is just so important to me, and every single student, all 30,000 TU Dublin students deserve a quality education. I have a few ideas of how we can get that going. Class reps are fundamentally the foundation of what makes the union great. We wouldn't have a clue what was happening amongst the 30,000 students if the class reps don't talk to us. So I really wanted to have a look at how we can utilise them better. We have so many class reps that are so interactive. We've seen some of them today going for positions. They're so ready to help. I want to have them help me. Access, as I've mentioned, is a service that's finally amalgamated as Blanche, Tallaght and City. It's all one service now. City has always had a brilliant orientation programme. This year they've implemented that into Tallaght and Blanchetown. I want to work and make that better. I want every single Access student to have the same experience. Apprentices are a group of people we don't associate the word student, but they are students. Just because they don't go to lectures and study theory like the rest of us, they're students with student cards, and I want to help them, I want to represent them. I've talked to a few Access to Apprenticeship students over the class addresses, and some of the stuff I've heard is just truly shocking. I really want to work with them. We need to change that, how it works. It was already mentioned, the payment plan. is going in operation, but I really don't think that if a student can't afford, we're in a cost of living crisis, folks. If a student can't afford to pay their full fee, they should see their exams and their results. They've sat them, they need to see if they did well in them. After that, I want to do management on burnout and stress. I know I'm a film student, but I trust you, the stress is real. Every student who experiences burnout, I want to help find a way to do workshops, which is to help make sure that's not avoided.
60 seconds?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well done. Thank you so much, Shauna. All right, 30 seconds once again for any of those burning questions. Please send them up.
Put up your hand, I'll go to you.
You just delivery service.
So to reiterate, a good process there is stick up your hand and we will go to you. Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Shauna, got a question. So at the moment, there's no student charter. What can we achieve for students if we did have a student charter? You have 1 minute.
Okay, so I don't have all the answers to this, but I do know we've fantastic education staff in the union as it stands, and I would love for them to help me in this and to figure this out, because I don't have the answers, but I'm sure as hell they do.
Oh, excellent. I wasn't reading the next question. Thank you very much, Shauna, for that. So this question refers to the fact that you're currently access coordinator.
Correct.
So obviously you've been leading students in that capacity.
Yeah.
How would you use that to lead students in this role?
Okay, so as access coordinator for the past 2 years, I've had so many experiences. There's none I haven't heard. So I'm fully trained in how to lead students. I know I'm brilliant for this role. I love helping students. I'm always there to listen to them and be an empathetic ear. I'm ready to really motivate students. Students are amazing. They care so much and they are so much smarter than people give them credit for when it comes to politics. I want to help them so much and I'm ready to lead them.
Thank you very much, Shauna. How would you elevate the role of the student voice in quality assurance? You've got 1 minute.
Okay, so this is something I haven't had huge problems with in the past. I think a lot of it comes down to students just don't know how to articulate it in a very professional setting. So I'd love to sit with the students and talk to them before they go to any of these panels of what they want to say and have it the best way articulated so that academic staff will actually listen to them.
Okay, thank you. Second last question, we'd be delighted to hear. How do you work to ensure that university regulations, which are often riddled with jargon, are understandable to students and that they get the information they need when they need it? One minute.
So accessibility and language was something that I really struggled with in my dissertation, and I really know it's a huge problem for a lot of students. So I think visuals are quite nice. So I'd love to work with the VP for communications and media to work on some like flyers or maybe some nice graphics for the Instagram to really explain students' rights and what's right for them, what's not, what's the appropriate thing to do in a situation, what's not. I think that's the best way to reach our students. Students are very like swipe, and they don't want to listen to read a load of papers.
Okay, thank you very much. And final question, your best memory being a TU Dublin student so far?
Every single second I have spent with the Access service. Anyone who knows me here knows I just say access. It's like my little trademark. But the service have given me so many skills, leadership skills. I've had so many skills in empathy. I've had so much training. I've met so many amazing people. They're my family. I would die for them in a heartbeat. They're everything. I wouldn't even be sitting here today if it wasn't for Access. They're amazing what they do. Every single second I spent with them is the best moment of my life.
Thank you very much. Okay, and we will move, no, hold on, back. I will, because I'm making sure that everybody gets your 1 minute summation.
Okay.
Go ahead, you've got 1 minute.
Please vote for me. It's not unstoppable. It's real nominations. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Shauna. I can't see it, but thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to the first contested race of the evening. We've got the position for Vice President for Welfare and Equality. In this race, we've got 3 candidates. One is Hazel Doran, the second is Nikesha Nancy, my apologies, and the third is Sophie Warren. I'm actually going to ask on this occasion that Roberta Leahy comes up first to read the 3 minutes. It just means that the 2 other candidates are just sitting and waiting over there. So, in absentia, just to be clear for anyone who's joining us late or online, didn't catch it at the start, Sophie is unavailable to come this evening, and in her absence, Roberto is going to read a statement. At the same time, within the 3 minutes that everybody else is getting, Roberto will not, and neither will Sophie, in any capacity be given Q&A after this, which I'm sure Roberto is delighted about. Okay, Roberto, are you happy to start reading for 3 minutes?
Do you want to get the microphone or step loud?
How are we at the back with the microphone?
Up to you, mate.
Up to you, mate, is the official answer.
Do you have a buzzword for a voice, sir?
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is
3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Sophie Warren, and I'm running to be your next VP for Welfare and Equality. It is responsibility of the VP for Welfare and Equality to ensure that all students feel safe on campus and that they have access to the same college experience as everyone else. As a current part-time officer and a fellow student, I have spent a lot of time asking my peers who come from a diverse range of backgrounds about their experiences on campus and what I can do as an officer of the Students' Union to make it better. A lot of feedback I have received is around accessibility to basic college facilities and services, or their lack of. The Student Charter, that point 1 is the Student Charter. The Student Charter sets out general principles of partnership between students and the Institute by working together to enhance and support the college experience for all students. Every college has one, except for TU Dublin. This is simply not acceptable. Therefore, I plan to hold the university accountable and have a Student Charter drafted, so that we students have assurances in writing that our basic educational, social and welfare needs are met. Point 2 is prayer rooms. Cultural representation is important to everyone. This is a huge issue as there are a lot of stigma surrounding various cultures and religions due to misinformation and lack of awareness. I plan on working with the Ethnicity and Diversity Officer to run more events where people of various religious backgrounds can spread awareness and openly share their cultures together. This includes working with the Islamic Society and the African Society. Another big issue I've heard from students is in regard to prayer rooms. A lot of prayer spaces are currently not up to standard. A lot of the prayer rooms are poorly maintained and are quite frankly too small. Students of the Muslim community have brought to my attention the inadequate time frame in which they can access the space to pray. This is one of the many multicultural issues that has gone on for too long within the university and must be addressed as soon as possible. And the final point is sensory rooms. If elected VP for Welfare and Equality, I would also be advocating for students with disabilities, both visible and invisible. A huge issue for students with invisible disabilities at the moment is a lack of sensory rooms. The university has provided students with what they would call quiet rooms. While this may not be enough for some, it is not enough for most students. We need actual spaces for those who experience sensory overload to be able to relax and feel safe in. I will work with the disability officer to ensure that the university follows through in making these spaces available to students across all campuses and that they are maintained regularly and at a high standard. If you vote Sophie Warren for your next Vice President of Welfare and Equality, I will ensure that your voice is heard and that your rights are fought for. We are all entitled to feel safe and welcome to you, Dublin. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. I don't think the mic is on, is that correct? Yeah. Can you just give it a test or turn it on for me just for a minute? But most people... Thank you very much, Roberto. Thank you to Roberto. On behalf of candidate Sophie Warren, please acknowledge Roberto with a clap. I didn't ask for the whistle, what the hell am I? Thank you very much, everybody. And now I'm going to ask the 2 candidates, the Hazel and Nikesha, to just come up here. I'm going to be asking Hazel to come up first, so Nikesha, if you wouldn't mind sitting over here on my left-hand side. Thank you very much. Hazel, are you happy to use the microphone or would you like to speak just without it?
I think I'm okay.
Can everybody, do you want to,
Hi guys, can you hear me in the back?
Use the mic.
Use the mic, okay. Hazel, if you, just over there, it's perfect. Thanks, Nikesha.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, everybody good? Excellent. Okay, I'm going to bang on. So, Hazel, you've got 3 minutes. Go ahead, and you're going to get the knock at 2 minutes. Yeah.
Hi guys, how are you? My name is Hazel Doran. I'm the current Vice President for Welfare and Equality in the City Campus, and I'm running for the overall position of Welfare and Equality in the upcoming elections. I'd really appreciate your #1 vote. This year I've tried to make well-being and student well-being at the forefront of everything I've done. I've been on the team, I've been consistent, reliable and fair. We've done 10 welfare and equality campaigns across all 3 campuses this year. I was the lead on all of those campaigns, even though I was only elected for City. I rolled those out in both Blanche and Tala. I believe that welfare is at the forefront of everything that's important for students on the day-to-day. Our well-being is the most important thing. It's the reason you come to college, it's the reason you stay at home. We're the largest university in the country, and our services and our student experience is not where it should be. Our EDI, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion budget was cut by 50% this year, which meant no staff received any training in EDI this year. This affects student experience on the whole. Our health budget was cut by 30%. We're sharing doctors going campus to campus. Blanche don't even have a doctor full time. We need someone that's ready to fight for you guys on the daily, and that is me. I'm passionate, I'm forward, I say what I think, and I'm here to tell you that I will fight for you regardless of where you go, regardless of what you study. We are all TU Dublin students, we all deserve the same quality of education. Please vote for me, Hazel Doran, #1 for welfare.
Thank you very much. Hazel, I'm going to ask you to switch now with Nikesha, and I'm going to ask Nikesha to give the 3 minutes contribution. Thank you so much. Nikesha, please do lift the mic up, because I think there's a lot of background noise and partying happening outside, so we just want to make sure everyone can hear. And start when you're ready.
Okay.
We won't start the clock until you start talking, so don't worry. Don't worry.
Waiting for you to
Don't
start.
worry.
Hi all, my name is Nekesa. And I'm so glad to be here because it's a very good feeling to be here to represent not just myself, but other students. Why am I seeking this position? First, I'm a Kenyan student, international student. I'm doing my master's in public affairs and political communication. While I was doing my undergrad, I had a chance to work as a welfare officer. Back in Kenya, we had like annual one, so I worked in year 1 as a welfare officer, and I worked as year 3 as a welfare officer. Besides that, when I jumped here to do my MA, one of the things that I wanted to do is to serve. So I think I was among the first people to join the student union. Like I think it was like week 3, because I found too many problems, and I don't like to complain about things that I can do something about. And I realized there's a voice for students. I said, why not join the others and fight together? So I joined the student union, I think, and my colleagues were asking me like, you're a master's student, why joining it? You here by years? I said 1 year is a long time for me, and it's about the experience. It is not about the 1 year, it's about the experience I want to gain from here. It's what I want to transfer. So given a choice, or given a chance to serve all of you in the leadership, to change the lives of many students out here, what are some of the things that I want to do? I want to look at every aspect, and I don't want to repeat myself because it looks like there's a problem with welfare. When listening to all of you talking about it, it's about welfare and welfare and welfare. It's about access. It's about facilities not working. It's about lectures not being up to date. It's about a systemic problem. So I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty. However, if you give me a chance to serve on the leadership, I am going to transform it, not just as myself, not just as a student here, but I have literally every international student lives the experience that is the shock that we see here.
1 minute.
Thank you very much. So, if you let me serve with you, I am going to work to make sure that the issue of accommodation it's about lobbying. It is not about solving it. We're going to lobby and get better services. The health services, I think it's collapsed. It's not been existent. We're going to look at the issue of access. And by the way, even my standing here is an access issue, because when you look at representation in this room, it's just like, I think I'm the only one, and it's an access issue. So if you give me a chance to serve with you, you're actually helping us access, not just being a statistic on paper here, but we're also participating in the leadership of the Students' Union. So I urge you, do not look elsewhere. Give me your vote, and I'll bring on board experience. I bring on board the passion that I have, and I've experienced that every time I've worked with this, my fellow councillors.
Time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Natasha. I am going to give a little bit of time now, 30 seconds again, for taking in questions, please. Okay, I'm actually just going to have both candidates kind of stand side by side for this, and I'm going to ask you the same questions. Is that all right? Just so it's as fair as possible. I'm going to start off asking you, Nikesh, to answer first. You'll have 1 minute to answer the question, and we'll give the double knock when you've hit that again. Okay, the first question for both of you, but starting with you, Nikesha, is what are the biggest student retention issues in the area of welfare? You have 1 minute.
In my experience, the biggest issue in retention of students is just lack of a timeline to resolve issues. You cannot be, one of the issues that I've struggled is like pointing out issues to the management, but there's no timeline. So when you wait for too long, because your student time is passing as you're waiting for your issue to be resolved, so you give up, you become apathetic, you're saying, okay, whatever, I'm not going to bother. But again, the experience becomes very bad. So time is of the essence. Give everything a timeline within which to be resolved.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Hazel. 1 minute.
So I think the main issue, lads, what we see on the day-to-day is we're in a cost of living crisis. Students can't afford to come to college, is what I'm hearing day in, day out. People are commuting from further and further away. I've met students commuting from Kerry and Donegal. The cost of living crisis is affecting why we're not retaining students. People are dropping out because they can't afford to come here, they can't afford to stay here. They can't afford to be on campus because food is too expensive and they've nowhere to go between their classes if they've got a 4-hour break. So I think we have to tackle the cost of living. We have to put student money back in student pockets. We have to lobby the government for accommodation on TU campuses. We need a range of issues to keep students on campus. So yeah, money, more money, lads.
Thank you. Second question for both candidates. This time, Hazel, if you answer the question first. So, what events do you plan to do that focus on the mental health of students? So, what events do you plan to do that focus on the mental health of students? You've got 1 minute.
So, mental health is so important. It's ongoing. We do have mental health supports on campus. We run mental health week. Mental health week is so important to bring to light the issues that are facing students. We also had like an EDI week in last semester that brought neurodivergent groups together. We need to do more groups for like specific cohorts to really target people where they need to be. We collaborated with the counselling service on a body acceptance program. We need to roll out and we need to link in with the university more to get the services out to the students that need them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hazel. Nikesha, the same question. We've got 1 minute.
I think to tackle this problem is not to look top down, but to look at the fellow students. And I believe that one of the things that is going to help like students deal with the mental issue, the mental illness here is enhance and enrich peer-to-peer counseling, because we only understand our problems. They, management, are just about like making sure that the courses run. But the issue of mental health, we are the ones that live it. We are the ones that deal with it every day. So if we are able to give it a space and to enhance and make sure that peer-to-peer engagement reaches everyone, we're going to reduce the level that we see. And Jessica mentioned it when she deals with the postgraduates, because she's believed it and that is how she approaches it. So it is not an issue for her, but for everyone.
Thank you very much. I'll ask you to keep the mic, Nikesha, because I'm going to ask you the next question. The housing crisis and cost of living crisis is affecting students in particular. How would you fight against these issues and assist students with housing? You've got 1 minute.
First of all, I would lobby the university. There's a department in the university called accommodation that is sleeping on the job literally from day one. An international student, they don't respond to your emails. And there's something called student part that does not work. First of all, I would make sure that I reach out to them and lobby them, and to ask them to like just do something better. The other thing is to try and make sure that students have more access on say funding that is on campus that is supposed to help them, intermittently meet some of their problems. Because some international students, for example, they come here and you find that the cost of living is out of reach, you cannot get a PPS number, you cannot work, you cannot do anything. So basically, for you to be able to help them achieve some of these things, first of all, have the international office working, get the student part working for every other student apart from just not the international student, but every other student. And I think we'll be on the way there.
Excellent, thank you so much. The same question, and I'll repeat it. The housing crisis and cost of living crisis is affecting students in particular. How would you fight against these issues and assist students with housing? You've got 1 minute.
Thank you. So the cost of living and the housing crisis is something that we hear on the daily in the student union office. We need to work with the USI to lobby the government for better choices in accommodation, more choices, actual choices. We don't have a choice. You take what you get in terms of accommodation right now, and it's not good enough. Student digs, there is no protections for students coming into accommodation. We need to work at the national level to get this done. This cannot be tackled at a campus level. This is a national problem that government need to tackle. We need housing for students, and we need it now. In terms of cost of living, we need meal deals on campus, we need cheaper options, we need payment plans. We're one of the only universities in the country with no payment plan, so students aren't getting their exam results. It's not good enough. We need to do more, and we need to do it now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'll ask you to keep the mic for another question. How would you make the Students' Union campus and student life on the whole more inclusive? You've got 1 minute.
Thank you. Student union life needs to become more inclusive. We are the largest university in the country, and we have such a diverse population. A lot of student union events only cater to one cohort. We need to diversify our events, diversify our campaigns. We need steering groups run by students in those cohorts, deciding them telling us what they want instead of us telling them what might suit. We need to do more. We need to be student-led. This is the student union. Students should have their say. Students should have campaigns that are relevant to them. So I say more campaigns and better options for students.
Thank you very much. Nikesha, the same question to you. Are you happy to go ahead, or do you need me to repeat it? How would you make the Students' Union more inclusive? How would you make student life more inclusive in TU Dublin? 1 minute.
I would want to look at it from the perspective that I have been here now like almost a year and have not even had a single event that includes like minority students, including myself, the black students on this campus. So I would want to look at theme nights, and let's appreciate every culture, have something for everyone, because we can. If the city campus by itself has not had any of these events, I don't think it's going to change. So if given a choice, I live the diversity. I am diversity. I understand being excluded. So that is going to be one of my key things, whether I am elected or not. That is going to be one of my key things, to work with the other officers, lobby them at the level that I am, wherever I am, to make sure that we are included, we are heard, because this is not happening. Let's face it, it is not happening. So I will try to make sure that events target every community, every group that is represented here. We all have to be celebrated, and that is going to remove us from the paper.
Thank you. Excellent. I'll actually leave the microphone with you, and you can finish your point if you wish, which is that you can go to your 1 minute summation. Lisa, if you want to sit down while that's happening, and then I'll call you up. Are you happy to go ahead? 1 minute. Yeah, no, don't worry. We only press go when you start speaking. Yeah.
What should I be looking at? Like, I would just want to do a very quick exercise here in this room. Just like turn to your left and turn to your right. I don't know the person you see, and assume yourself jumping from a parachute. And from a chopper and your parachute doesn't work. So what do? You panic. And then the next thing, it works. That is how welfare feels like for an international student. That's how welfare feels like for students who come here on a disadvantaged platform. When that parachute pops finally and you get that moment, that is how we feel. But then when we cannot access it, when we are unable to, just make basic things work, the imperialistic canteens that we have that are so expensive, we can't afford food. Then they have notices all over the place that space reserved for customers. I don't know who is a customer of who. For me, I think that's the real issues that we need to tackle in this room. Not campaigns, not writing down and saying, we're going to have an event or that event. Let's deal with real issues, the cost of living. Let's have international students helped.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Natasha, if you would just take a seat over there on the left-hand side, that would be great. And Hazel, take your time. Now, Hazel, go ahead, you've got 1 minute.
Okay guys, just to summate, I would really appreciate your #1 vote. I'm such a passionate believer in welfare inequality and in this student union, and I believe that we can make a massive change. I'm a welfare inequality officer, not just for one cohort. I came from a mature student background, but I'm here for postgrads, for apprentices, for internationals, for students of global majority, for apprentices. I want to fight for everybody in this union. I believe that I have done a good job this year and I deserve to come back. Please give me your #1 vote. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. I just want to clap for both candidates, please. I acknowledge one request for a break, which I absolutely appreciate. I'm going to ask it to really respect the candidates' time and everybody here who wants to go home at some point, including me. So let's do a 10-minute break, which brings us back at 5 past strictly, back in the room at 5 past. Thank you.
Second speech in 2 days. Nice. Sorry, love the shirt. Thank you. Yeah, I hate public speaking.
Got a drink and stuff? Non-alcoholic or alcoholic, that's fine. Great. Everybody's back in the room? Have I got my two next candidates, Saoirse and Brian? Yeah. Yes? Saoirse, you there? Yeah. Deli, thank you. Okay, right. So we're going to kick off. The real crack's going to begin now. So we've got a really important role coming up. It is the leader of the Students' Union, the president of Dublin. So we've got two candidates running for election in this race. I'm just going to pause while. Oh, there's a water coming to me. I'll pause for that.
Need a hydrated moderator, sorry.
Thanks very much, yeah. Because if I get cranky, we can get in trouble now. All right, Danny. Okay, this is for the position of the President of Dublin for the Students' Union to lead Dublin. We've got two candidates, Saoirse Daly and Brian Jordan. And in that order, I'm going to ask them up, because that's alphabetical, by surname. So the difference in this one is that candidates get 5 minutes at the beginning. And they get the same amount to summate, which is 1 minute. But instead of 10 minutes for questions, we have 15 minutes for questions. We may not get to the full 15 minutes if we stop early, and I feel like we've enough questions asked. I will finish the discussion. But once again, please do submit any questions to James, not Jamie. Jamie would take them, but hand them to James. They'll come this way and I'll have a look at them, and my decision is final about what questions get asked. My preference is for universal questions for both candidates. I think it's the fairest way, but obviously the candidates in their responses can be as respectful as possible in examining each other's policies. That's fine. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Saoirse Daly to the podium. And Saoirse, you have 5 minutes when you're ready.
Okay, should I use the mic?
Please use the mic, just in case that rowdy crowd out there goes again. So thank you.
Hey everyone, how's things? I'm Saoirse Daly and I'm the VP for Education for City Campus. I'm running to be the president of the Students' Union because there's things I want to change in this union, within the institution and on a national level. I want to keep student money in student pockets. I want to make the class rep discount card that was available to all class reps this year, I want to make that available to all students in TU Dublin. I want to reform our expenditure within the Students' Union. I feel like we are wasting money within the Students' Union. We don't have a budget for postgraduates, we don't have a budget for our part-time officers. And I tried to create an event for Access students this year. It was a motion I wanted to bring to Student Council, and I was unable to do so because I was told we do not have the budget. I do not feel that this is fair when we were all catered for with Kennedy's Catering during our officer training. I do not feel that this is fair when we are spending thousands of euro on couriers. I do not feel that this is fair when we are wasting money. I feel like we're wasting money and this needs to change, so that we need expenditure reform. Did you know that we have a Domino's discount code, and every time that discount code is used, €1 is put into a Students' Union account? I do not understand why we are not advertising this more, why we are not giving pizza to students more often. It's little things like this that will make a big difference for students. We are in a cost of living crisis and this needs to be addressed. I want to work with the university on lobbying the TU Dublin to release results to all students regardless if they have outstanding fees or not. Your institution should be empowering you and they're not doing that at the moment. Besides keeping money in student pockets, I want to make the way we lobby more effective within the union. For instance, this year at officer training, we did not receive the training required to effectively lobby, in my opinion. We need to know what meetings to bring things up at, we need to know who to go to, and we need to know how to collect data. We can secure sponsorships and reward our students for participating in surveys. We can give out Red Bulls to get the student voice. We can create professional documents to be presented at different committees and meetings throughout the university. This is how we will implement real change. This is how we will affect policies. And this is how we will truly benefit students. You know, I was chatting to the library staff with the education team at the start of the year, and they were saying that this is an issue that we've been constantly fighting for, extending the library hours. So we need to learn how to present data effectively. We need to empower officers to do that, which leads on to my next point in my manifesto, which is empowering officers. I want to foster teamwork within the Students' Union. I feel like that's something that has really been lacking this year. I want to have an open communication policy. Like, I want officers to feel comfortable. I want officers to be able to criticise me, to share their opinions. If I'm not sure on something, I'm going to go to the officers. I'm going to get opinions, and I'm going to make decisions in a democratic way. This needs to change. In terms of activism, if you need someone to lead the union and implement activism effectively, then Saoirse Daly should be your #1 vote next week. I've been involved in multiple organisations outside of the Students' Union. I've been involved in the Cost of Living Coalition, Extinction Rebellion, Raise the Roof protests, repealing the 8 and banning hair coursing in Ireland.
1 minute.
I've been trained in non-violent direct action training, and I've done workshops in effective mobilisation, volunteer management, and how to impact local policy dialogues. I'm standing before you today not because I want to be president, but because I've seen issues this year and I want to change them. I believe in student rights and I believe in the student experience, and this needs to change. You might have heard of the Dream Team mentioned previously. I have officers fighting with me for me to be president because we have a common goal, and that is to improve the student experience within this institution. So please vote for Saoirse Daly as your #1 next Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, and thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, just being 10 seconds under time, well done. Saoirse, you can leave the mic there, and I'm going to ask Brian Jordan up to proceed with 5 minutes.
So I would like to start with a story about an 18-year-old boy. So he studied day in and day out because he'd been told that since he was a child that if he got into a course of his dreams, medicine, that he would be happy. So that friends didn't matter, they wouldn't last, that academics was all that mattered. This boy did not get the course of his dreams, nowhere close. He had failed, and because of that he had failed his family. He had failed everyone who believed in him. So he ended up studying in Trinity, which I know is not relatable at all, and it was in a course that he hated. So he would lie in bed in the dark for hours every single night, feeling like he could slip away and no one would ever notice. This boy's name was Brian Jordan, and he was diagnosed with severe depression at the time. And I know this is a very weird start to a process about becoming president of the Students' Union, but I think it helps to explain why I am the way that I am now, and why I worked so hard for students day in and day out. I changed college courses, was put on medication, received dialectical behavioural therapy, and from there, I told myself that I would start saying yes to everything. I would start saying yes to things like becoming a class rep, student counsellor, getting involved as chair of the LGBTQ Society for 3 years, and eventually getting a part-time job in McDonald's, which was awful, but I did it, and then another 3 years in Starbucks, all at the same time. And you know what? Things got easier. Suddenly, I didn't feel like my life was happening very, very far away, and I could see how my existence suddenly was important to the student movement. And it was amazing seeing how the more I worked, the more students' lives tangibly improved. So when it came to my final year, I put myself forward to be the next president of the Students' Union. It was one of the hardest 3 weeks of my life, but I fought with everything I had, and students believed in me, and I won. So I want to firstly thank all the students of GU Dublin for allowing me to help you guys for the last 8 months. It has been the best time of my life, and it has been so hard. But it's been so amazing working alongside the rest of the team, every single one of them, no matter how hard it's been sometimes. And as well, I will now move on to what we're all here for. What have I done over the last 8 months for all of you? Because that's what you should ask any candidate who's going for re-election. Firstly, I'm proud to say I passed a record-breaking referendum across TU Dublin with the highest voting turnout in TU Dublin SU history, and it means we've changed our structure forever, and now all these new positions that we have are a result of that. I helped write the job descriptions we were talking about earlier, and seeing the excitement of all the part-time officers yesterday when they were going to these new positions that we've never had before. And it was amazing to see that. I'm going to drink some water because I'm very nervous. I'm also proud to say that I led the project and was getting additional microwaves across every campus. The evidence I do have on a lot of email threads here, if anyone cares enough to read that. So many emails, but we got them eventually. As well, I set up the canteen user group, which means that for the first time ever, we can negotiate with the university on things like pricing, the quality of food, the type of food and seating within those canteens. As well, there's our funding agreement. We can now say that we have guaranteed €1.5 million in funding for the Students' Union for the next 3 to 5 years. That is the first time we have ever gotten something like that with such security, with such efficiency. And that means we can fund bigger and better campaigns and events. We can offer budgets to the postgraduate affairs officer. We can offer budgets to our part-time officers. We want more events and we want more engagement. I think we all want that. I don't think anyone here disagrees. As well, I could go on about my achievements. I could go on, about 100% student councils being elected for the first time in Dublin history, or the 95% class rep stats that we got as a result of all of us, including our staff, working hard, as well as the increase in the advice service. But I think we need to talk about what I want to do. Firstly, we need to be far more radical as a students' union. For example, the president of the university is on well over €200,000 a year, and yet refused to give us microwaves. The only reason we got them was because we threatened a university-wide protest a week before the CEO results closed. I'm nowhere near done because there's so much to talk about. Another thing is the student charter. We need it. You guys have no student rights at the moment. You do an assessment. Let's say you want to get feedback after 1, 2, 3 months. Does not matter. It's written nowhere. We're the only university in Dublin without that. We need that now. As well, we need to make sure that we start lobbying nationally. We need cost of living things that are effective. We can look at small changes. I can do a discount card. It only takes a day. We did it for class reps. We can roll that out, no issue. I have nothing against doing that. Students want that. Thank you very much. My name is Brian.
And I'll wait for any more questions to come in, if that's all right, and give you a break and let you spread further.
I'm fine. Oh my God. Yes.
One of your buzz for you. Because I didn't really
Anyone else? Oh, okay.
Hello. How are you doing?
Just to flag, once I begin this process, I won't be accepting any more questions, okay? All right.
Yeah. Lunch isn't that big. You probably give it like 40. Yeah, no, I'm just saying lunch isn't I'm just at a guess I'm saying 40. 40 would do the job. Because you don't want to put it everywhere.
Sorry guys, I appreciate your patience while I just go through some of these, thank you.
You want to smile and look away. Tell us a joke. My life.
Okay, I'm going to kick off with a question. Saoirse, I'm going to start with you if that's okay. I'm going to ask you both the same question first off, and you'll have 1 minute to answer, okay? So the first question is, the housing crisis and the cost of living is affecting students in particular. How would you, as president, fight against these issues and assist your students in TU Dublin? Saoirse, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, so I think that goes back to effective lobbying really, and I think the key to effective lobbying is data collection. I think that if we are going to lobby government officials, we need the data to present to them. And because this is a national issue, I would probably bring this as a motion to National Council, where it could be decided on by all the, members of USI. And if that's brought through, then a national student survey could be conducted to evaluate the consequences of the housing crisis for students, and hopefully that will give us strong data to be able to lobby effectively.
Thank you very much, Saoirse. Brian, the same question for you. Are you happy to answer it, or do you need me to repeat it?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Go ahead. You've got 1 minute.
So this needs to be looked at 2 levels. First of all, locally, but also nationally. There are things we can do, whether it is Saoirse's amazing idea of the discount card. We can also look at getting more microwaves to make sure students who can't afford food can bring them in. We also need to work with the canteen user group to do things, whether it's getting emergency food vouchers that we have in town in Blanchardstown, but rolling that out on everywhere in city. As well, nationally, we need to look at things like digs legislation, rent freezes. We need to continue the eviction ban. And the number one thing that we had this year is the €1,000 decrease in fees. We need to make sure that that continues, because that is going to stop this time next year unless we lobby more aggressively. And we need to make sure USI is held to account in a far more, honestly, aggressive way. And we have many members here who I'm sure agree that we want to take more direct action and go against the government. And we say the word lobby generically. We need to protest outside the Dáil. We can do that if we work together. Thank you.
Thank you both. I'm going to ask the second question, both to you both again, starting with Brian this time. You've got 1 minute. How will you empower your part-time officers and prevent burnout? You've got 1 minute.
Perfect. So first of all, we can use some of the things we have for full-time officers, but roll out to part-time officers. We have things like the Employee Assistance Programme. So let's say someone needs confidential counselling or things like that. We could work that out to help have the part-time officers have access to that. And as well, in terms of empowering them, I helped write their job descriptions. I'm so excited from the start to help make sure the entire team's involved in training them. And I agree with Saoirse, we need better training at the start of the year. We're already working on reform. And I'll make sure that they get much more formal training, whether it is things on wellness, mental health, or whether it's more tangible things like planning and scheduling, or events 101, because a lot of the time officers want to do things, they just don't know what the process is, because it is confusing and it is difficult. And I'm hopeful that whatever happens, the part-time officers will excel next year. Thank you.
Saoirse, are you happy to answer that question, or do you need me to repeat it?
No, I'm happy to answer.
Go ahead, 1 minute.
So making part-time officers feel included in this organisation is actually in my manifesto, and it's something I think is incredibly important, especially with new officer roles. I want every part-time officer to have a full-time officer as their point of contact. I want part-time officers to report back to full-time officers, and those full-time officers to report back to myself, so there is transparency. I also want part-time officers to have budgets. I want them to be able to throw their own events. And if I can help part-time officers get funding, for instance, there's funding available for Shock to na Gaeilge, I'll also help them do that too. Yeah, and I really want part-time officers to feel like if they're facing any issues, they can come to me. If they don't feel able to tackle an issue themselves, I want to help them find a full-time officer that will enable them to tackle it effectively.
Thank you very much, Saoirse. I'm going to ask you to answer the next question, please, and this is universal as well. This is for both candidates. How do you believe you could best utilise the National Union to achieve the interests of the members of TU Dublin? You've got 1 minute.
I think this really goes back to accountability with USI, because USI have so many mandates, and I think something that could be implemented into officer training is actually looking at what USI is mandated to do and empowering officers to ask questions when they attend National Council. I think that's incredibly important. We pay €100,000 into USI every year. I think we need to be inviting them onto our campus more often. And I think we need to be letting USI know about the issues our students are facing on campus, because it's important to note that USI officers aren't chatting to students that much anymore. It's mainly members of the exec. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Thank you very much, Saoirse. Brian, same question, 1 minute.
Sure. So everything that happens on a national level affects students locally. You know, if there's a €1,000 reduction in fees nationally, that will affect students locally. If there's legislation about free period products, that will affect everyone locally. We need to make sure that as political officers, we are holding them to account. We can't just show up to National Council and go on a 2-day sesh, or put forward a motion and just forget about it for the year. We need to make sure that every single National Council that we attend, we ask them exactly what progress they have made. What's the next protest? What's the next escalation progress? What have they done when they sit on the HEA committees? Because they are the only ones with a seat at that table. we need to make sure that they start working effectively on things that will help the cost of living crisis. And as well, like I've submitted several motions to Congress, which is coming up, on things like doing another review of the HEA student contribution charge of all colleges, because once we know what the funding situation is in every university, we use that to better inform our own funding situation, so we can get even more money to make sure that we can have better service provision, like things like student advisors, which are instrumental in student advice.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, the next question is just for you. So you mentioned a funding agreement or a new funding agreement in your initial or opening comments. Could you explain how this funding agreement is any different from funding agreements we have had previously? You have 1 minute.
Yes, so the previous funding agreement took, I think, about approximately 9 months to negotiate, and it was done at a time where the actual funding agreement had ended, so they had no official funding, so they were on an extremely limited budget, and it was during COVID, so they were lucky, but otherwise they would not have been able to pay their staff or their officers because they were all on salary positions. So this year we took a much more proactive approach. We made sure that it was organised months and months in advance, and we made sure that we had positive relations in the university in relation to certain key members, so that way when it came to negotiate additional years, which no other union has. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Brian. This question is just for Saoirse. Could you provide an update on unpaid internships, please? You've got 1 minute.
Well, I believe that this is a national issue, and USI recently released a survey about unpaid internships. So I think we need to wait for the results of that survey to discuss the next plan of action on what to do with that information. As I mentioned earlier, effecting lobbying requires data, and we do need that data from USI. But Clodagh, who's sitting over there, has released a survey, so that is available to be done on the USI website.
Thank you very much, Saoirse. This is a question for both candidates. It's about the cost of living issue for students. Saoirse, I'll start with you. It's really to ask about the cost of canteen prices. You know, obviously the cost of prices in the canteen is something that immediately impacts students across campus. If you were elected, what would you do in relation to this issue? Saoirse, you've got 1 minute.
Yeah, so I think across all sites the canteen prices are way too expensive, and I do think we need to take a direct action in relation to this. I'm not sure about the logistics of a protest in terms of canteen prices. I think a different direct action could be more effective. I think a petition would be a great way to get the attention of the university. I think it would be great to get signatures from students out on the ground, as I mentioned before, giving students Red Bull, sign this petition, and to stick it on the doors of all the canteens and work from there.
Thank you very much, Saoirse. The same question to you, Brian. Do you need it repeated?
Yes, that would be great, thank you.
The issue of canteen prices. What would you do about that if elected president?
So first of all,
you've got 1 minute.
Sorry, yes. So first of all, one of the things I mentioned is microwave. Students can actually bring in their own food. First of all, as well, with the canteen user group that's already been established, we can now start negotiating things like pricing and meal deals and the quality of food and things like that with the university canteens. So that's another direct step. As well as that, we need to again look at the national action, whether it is getting more, like in the north, they sometimes have canteens that are subsidized by the university. There is funding available with the university. They have a lot of money. We need to consider that approach. And as well, direct action can be really important. Sorry, the other candidate is correct. The reason why we threatened a protest is because we knew they would fear the bad PR. We had the Irish Times, we had RT News on standby. That's why they were afraid. So sometimes that threat alone can be enough, but I do agree all the time we need to look at other escalation strategies, where there is a petition, although at times I'm not sure that university cares enough. Like the president did knock out his microwaves during a cost of living crisis, despite the fact he makes over 200,000 euro a year. They at the top of the university just do not care.
Time. Thank you very much, Brian. Next question to both candidates. Starting with you, Brian. You would be the political leader of the Students' Union if elected as president. What political lobbying do you intend on doing on behalf of the students if elected president next year? You've got 1 minute.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What political lobbying would you intend on doing next year if elected president? Because as president, you are the political leader of the Students' Union. You've got 1 minute.
So we always talk about cost of living. I think we need to actually break that down into tangible goals, because if we go into lobby days or a walkout and just say, we want cost of living measures, that's not specific, they're not going to do anything. If we go into specific actions, whether it is the complete abolishment of fees, or whether it is a €1,000 reduction, or whether it is the improvement of SUSI or SUSI reform, or whether it's making better legislation around, say, HAP, the Housing Assistance Programme, so if students become homeless, they actually can get accommodation. Because I had that issue where I had homeless HAP because I was kicked out and no one would take it. So it doesn't matter if it's available, people will not take it. So we need to work on areas like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'm going to ask you to respond to the next question. It's for both candidates. How do you plan on improving class rep numbers next year? Oh, apologies. Sorry, my apologies. Thank you, Saoirse. Go ahead. You've got 1 minute.
I do think political lobbying can actually affect us in a positive manner on a local level. I want to lobby local TDs in Blanchardstown to implement an express bus service similar to other institutions such as Maynooth, DCU and UCD. I also want to lobby local TDs. I have been working on bike safety in Bolton Street and it looks like positive progress is being made in relation to that. But if that progress isn't made, I want to contact local TDs to talk about the issues surrounding bike safety in the area. And yes, we do need to lobby as a collective with USI and with other unions about the cost of living crisis. I'm a strong believer in direct action, but meaningful direct action. We have to have clear, defined goals when undergoing direct actions. And I think that's really a discussion for the campaigns working group, which I've been an active member for with this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Saoirse. My apologies for skipping you on that one. You got an insight into the next question, Saoirse, which is for both candidates. I'll ask you to answer this first. So, how do you plan on improving class representative numbers next year? In relation to that, it appears that class rep numbers, aren't at full capacity at the moment. Could you respond to that in your answer? You've got 1 minute. Thank you.
Yeah, so I would love to work with the VP for Academic Affairs on this. I think class rep engagement in the second semester is incredibly important. I think we need to be throwing more events for our class representatives. I'd love to see monthly meetups so class representatives have this sense of community and are incentivised to go to meetings more often. I'd also love to facilitate online class rep meetings in the evening as well as our lunchtime meetings. I know Tala don't have lunchtime meetings, but I feel like the more accessible we make class rep meetings, the better. And yeah, continue on with our incentives such as the lunch vouchers, but I really think fostering that sense of community, having WhatsApp groups, stuff like that is incredibly important in terms of keeping up engagement.
Brian, 1 minute.
So first of all, I've already submitted a motion to Congress, which will be a democratic audit of every single students' union, because we might think we're the best or we're doing things perfectly, but every union does class reps a different way. Some do them entirely online, which sounds perfect, but the numbers are really low. We attempted a system this year where it was all in person. It was honestly a disaster because it meant we had to do so much on-the-ground work and it was exhausting for officers. And even though we worked really hard, every single one of us, the numbers just did not go the way we wanted. So I think next year we need to look at specific actions. We'll have an online nomination form that we push, like we pushed some of our biggest campaigns. And then following that, we can do what we did this year, where we have more student advisors now because of the referendum, which means we can go to the classrooms and lectures after if they've elected their own class rep, because that's a reality and that does happen. And we can make sure the numbers get up to what they are, which is like 90-something% now, instead, in October. It shouldn't take till like halfway through the second semester. And as well, we need more incentives, but the most important thing we need to do is make sure that the class rep meetings actually result in change, because we have class reps that ask the same issues every single year, they bring up the same topics and nothing changes. I find it exhausting.
Time. Thank you very much, Brian. I'm going to leave the microphone with you for the next question. We're coming actually to the close of this, so you can stop sweating. Nearly there. Brian, as leader of the Students' Union, what personal qualities do you most feel you'll be able to contribute to the role to the benefit of students? You've got 1 minute, and this question is for both candidates.
So, I love these types of questions. So I think I am absolutely relentless. As I said with my massive monologue about how I got here, I am so hardworking. My only personality trait is the Students' Union, which is incredibly sad. But at the same time, it means I will devote everything in my power to making sure that students get a better experience, because I had the best 4 years of my life when I was in college, and I want to make sure as many other students have it as possible. And I know that will not be a reality. Not everyone wants to engage, not everyone is full-time, not everyone has the ability. We need to make sure, as other people have said, that equity as much as possible occurs, so that as many students as possible can get involved. Also sometimes funny, I don't know.
Thank you, Brian. Saoirse, you've got 1 minute.
I think I can bring innovation and resilience to the table. I left school at 15 to work, and I worked for years before entering an adult education course. When I finally got into college, I got in through the Access programme. I love a bargain. I want to negotiate with venues and get deals for students and push our money as far as possible in order to enhance the student experience. Yeah, that's what I think I can bring to the table, and innovation, celebration of new ideas, embracing change. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Saoirse. Okay, a few people asked this question, so I'm going to go for it to both candidates again, starting with Saoirse. What is your favourite thing about the other candidate? You've got 1 minute. Order. Go ahead, you've got 1 minute, please. Thank you, Saoirse.
My favourite thing about the other candidate is their commitment to their role. I do think that they've really committed to their role this year.
Excellent, thank you very much, Saoirse. And Brian, you've got 1 minute.
Guys, her passion, absolutely. Like, it has to be said, regardless of anything else in this election, Saoirse does care, and her heart's in the right place, and she does want things to be better. So that's clear, I think, to everyone in the room.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. We're going to close off the Q&A because we've actually run out of time by 5 minutes for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Saoirse to give her 1 minute closing statement, and Brian, would you mind sitting down to the left? Thank you so much. Start when you are ready, Saoirse.
Yeah, I'd just like to commend my opponent for running for this position as well. It's not easy. It's not easy to put your face out there. And I promise everyone in this room and everyone watching online that I'm doing this because I'm fighting for what I believe in. We need expenditure reform. We need to change policies within the institution and on the national level. I have the experience. Please check out my manifesto online if you want to read more. If you see me around campus, please come up, chat to me, ask me questions. I have an Instagram which is available on the website. Send me a DM. A vote for Saoirse next week is a vote for real change and an empowered team of people. Thank you.
Brian, you've got 1 minute as well. Kick off when you're ready.
So I've loved my last 8 months here as your Students' Union President. I hope I've done as many of you possible, as proud as possible. That sentence made no sense, iconic. But I really, really do want to make sure we have better facilities by the time I leave. I want to make sure that part-time officers are inspired. I want democracy structures to be strong. I want students to actually have seen tangible change within a few months, whether there's more seating in Grangegorman, whether it is better infrastructure in Bolton, whether it's a better atmosphere in industry who often feel excluded, whether it's better common rooms in Blanchardstown, whether it is, abolishing the doctor charge in Tala campus because they're the only ones who pay. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that there is an improvement before I finish. And all I can say as well is I commend Saoirse Daly, sorry, the other candidate. It is very difficult to run for these types of elections. I know it's being heated, and I hope that after all this we can solve it.
Thank you very much, Brian.
A big round of applause for our moderator, Sheila Cahill, as well.
It's over, lads. Thanks very much for that. Just, I suppose, before I close off, thank you, Glenn, for the thanks. I appreciate it. To be honest, I was thrilled to be asked. I spent so many years in the Students' Union movement, and it is a really important role, regardless of whether you're a pure hack because you show up all the time to everything that's happening. You're a Students' Union elected representative as a class rep, you're a part-timer, or you're a full-time sabbatical officer. The life's blood of what we do in terms of social change making, as well as the work that we do to make students' lives better, isn't just done obviously from a national level, it is done locally. because of the things that you guys bring to council, the things that you give out about and agitate about, whether it's in a council setting or on social media, or going in to your officers and letting them know what's happening for you, for your families, for your situations. We have rarely found ourselves in such a significant time in terms of the cost of living and the cost of being a student, despite wins in the last year because of the work of that student movement. So it is so important that regardless of who you go to vote for in the next few days, that as campaign teams, you just encourage absolutely everyone to get the finger out and actually go and vote, because the Students' Union is only as powerful and as important as the people who make it up. So regardless of what way your politics lies in this, make sure that even the people who couldn't give a flying other word, whatever here, about Students' Union politics, if they don't think it's for them, it is absolutely about their experience here, it's about their access to campus. All of the issues that have been raised here tonight have given me so much energy even leaving the room, because of how much you all believe in what you're talking about. And I absolutely do believe that there are incredible candidates in this room, and can we give them a final round of applause and bless them.